Well, good morning, and apologies for arriving here late. Thank you for this opportunity of tiebreakers for allowing me to tell a story, and I hope, a few of us will be inspired. I'm Kofo Akinkugbe, as Lamide has said. I'm the founder and CEO of a company called SecureID. I'm a graduate from University of Lagos, studied mathematics, and then I went into banking. I did 12 years in banking. Whilst I was in banking, I took a leave of absence and I went abroad and did an MBA. I was a very hard worker, never thought I would run my own company. I was in paid employment and I was very happy with that. I was working extremely hard, very passionate about my work, a high flyer in what I was doing. But I came back after doing an MBA and I felt unfulfilled. All of a sudden, I didn't feel I was adding value to the work. Salary was good, the perks was there, but I was unfulfilled. And so I took a risk. I know that it doesn't sound right, but I took a risk. And apart from that, I was also a mother of 2 young children. And it was, that part of my life was very important to me. And I felt, look, if I'm doing a job and I don't feel I'm adding value, maybe I should be doing something else. And I would also like to spend time back home with the children and my husband, my family, and so on. And so I didn't know what I was going to do, but I resigned. And when people ask, what are you going to do? I don't know. Took a step of faith, resigned, stayed at home, enjoyed myself with my children. But whilst I was at home, I just wasn't sitting down at home. I was thinking through what I wanted to do. I went out every day, booked a few appointments, seeing mentors, seeing people I admired, talking to people, wanted to find out what is there. I was looking for a job, so I was looking for a job that would give me the exposure that I wanted, that would challenge me and still give me time for my family. In all of going out, I was talking to one of my mentors and he dropped an idea. He talked about biometric technology and I thought that sounds nice, And I didn't know what happened, but it just dropped in my heart and I picked it and I took it. And went and Googled it to find out about it. Realized that they were having a conference in Washington around that time. And I thought, okay, got a loan from a brother-in-law of mine, and I said, I need some money to travel very quickly. Traveled, went for the conference, learned about the technology, attended the exhibition, and whilst I was there, I found an American company that was ready to give me African distributorship for their technology. And I thought, wow. Came back, formed a company called Interface Technologies, started it off from my guest room, carrying my baby with one hand, learned about it, learned how to install. Interface was installing systems like CCTVs, biometric, using your fingerprints to go in, using your fingerprints to get access, using your cards for access control, management systems, management softwares, and we did the first job, was done very good. I climbed the ladder, did the installation myself, the wires and so on. During the first, when I got the first order, I was able to employ my first engineer. And we did it so well that we got people coming back to us and a lot of referrals. What started in the guest room, we got an office in Ikoyi, A staff of 1 grew to a staff of about 40, then to about 60, and then we found ourselves, thank you, being number 1 in the industry, doing jobs for MTN, for Econet at the time, all across Nigeria, and so on and so forth, and Interface became suddenly this company that was leading in biometric or security management solutions. Whilst I was there, I was invited to join an association because I was doing a lot of card access control. So I would come and install access control with cards. And I then got invited to sit on the board of trustee of an association called Smart Card Association of Nigeria. Now that association, charitable one, there were directors from the banks and so on that board. And basically what we were meant to do was to come up with ideas on how to move Nigeria from a cash-based economy to a card-based economy. So to reduce the use of cash. And I enjoyed the deliberations, I enjoyed every bit of it, giving my time to it. And whilst I was there, I realized that, wait a minute, there isn't really a structured, even if we are card-based, the supply of the cards is not very structured, And again, I saw an opportunity. And so I then took 2 of my guys from Interface Technologies, and I said, let's write a business plan. Let's start up another company, a factory this time around, and provide card solutions to the industry. Now, let's go to the next slide. It looks like I was already. So, then came SecureID. What happened to Interface Technologies? It continued to run. And today, Interface is probably about over 15 years old right now. And I stopped being involved in Interface 9 years ago. I've been able to pass on the baton. I have a general manager, a wonderful lady who is running it. I've got wonderful staff running it and carrying on with the dream. And 9 years ago, I started SecureID. And our vision from the beginning was to be Africa's leading provider of world-class digital security solutions, best suited for emerging markets. Next slide. Now, the vision at the beginning was an African vision. We wanted not just to serve the Nigerian market, but to serve markets outside Nigeria. And so we knew that for us to do that, we've got to set up something of international standard. Unfortunately, there was no company in Nigeria that I could benchmark against because we were the first. And we're doing something that just has not existed in West Africa. At the time when Nigeria was still using mark stripe cards, the fraud level was extremely high. And, suppliers were bringing in cards in suitcases, containers, they were bringing cards for the banks. The way they were personalized was not very secure, and so on. And so Central Bank was getting very worried that the fraud level was extremely high. It just wasn't structured. And the dream was, I would like to set up a card, I would like to substitute importation, set up a factory that can produce smart cards in Nigeria to serve the financial sector with debit cards, credit cards, whether it's MasterCard, Visa, or Verb, to serve the telecom sector with the SIM cards you put in your phone, not scratch cards, to serve the public sector with health cards, with voters card, with driver's license, with Nigeria national ID cards, and so on. And so I knew it was a big dream. And so, but the dream was there. So in 2005, we gave birth to the dream, and we spent that year writing our business plans and so on. Now, I started from Interface Technologies, where it was 100% owned by myself. And I had a track record So the banks, because the banks were also clients of ours, they knew of interface technologies. So it was a little easier to approach the banks to say, I need some financing. But I also wanted to be accountable. I wanted to run a proper structured company, global standard, best in class, corporate governance. And I decided that I wanted a board. I want to invite investors into this company. And what you notice that wherever you are, whatever you're doing, do it very, very well, because people are watching you. And so by the time you take an idea to people, they know you and they can trust you and say, look, I know that whatever he or she is doing will do it well, and I'm ready to invest in this person. And so that was the advantage that at the time that I had. It was very easy to bring in individual investors that believed in me. And I chose my investors carefully, not just the money, but for people that will add value, that for people that had the same principles, the same values, the same ethics as I do, so it was all set up that way. Now, if we look at the slide, our dream was that we would set up a factory, we would attain leadership in Nigeria, then in West Africa, and then we'll attain leadership in Africa, and why not, if not, explore other parts of the world. Next slide, please. The SecureID way, it was our dream, so we're unique. It was important for us to be innovative, world-class culture, of course, profit, business returns, and to ensure that we're adding value to the economy. Next slide, please. Now, when we started, as I said to you, Nigeria was a mark stripe base, so all your cards only had a magnetic strip on it. If you remember, I don't know how many people were using cards then. If you remember cash cards in those days, and at the time we started, the rest of the developed world had moved from mark stripe to chip and pin. That is a smart card, so a card with a chip on it. And so at the time we had the idea was to set up a chip and pin plan. So you might say, how could you do that when Nigeria was still on mark stripe? Well, we knew that at some stage Nigeria will move to chip and pin. And so for the first 2 years, here I am setting up a chip and pin plant. Other people like mark stripe. To have a mark stripe personalization bureau, you just need a very little room with some machines or desktop printers. But to have a chip and pin, you need to have a firewall vault, you need to have your fingerprint before you can enter, you need huge machines. It's a lot of investments. So of course, for the first 2 years, it was tough because we were competing with people that didn't have the type of overheads that we had. But because we could see ahead. And what I'm trying to say to you is that wherever you are, do not look at the market the way it is, but look at the market the way it can be. And so we set up SecureID with the end in mind. What is the end? To set up an entire value chain to make a smart card from end to end, all internationally certified, in order to serve all these markets. That was the end. That's where we're going, and we started with the end in mind. And when we did that, 2 years, first year loss, second year little bit of profit. But when the passion is in you, you're not going to give up at the slightest challenge. And so for you to run a very good business, you've got to have a very long-term approach towards it. Why are you in business? Are you there for the gain? Or are you there for a legacy? Are you there to imbibe values into others? Are you there to leave a legacy that will affect generations after you? Well, that was my reason for being in business. And so, if you're like that, you're able to weather the storm, because it's not a very easy environment to run a business. And so after 2 years, the Central Bank of Nigeria mandated all the banks, without us being involved, to migrate from max stripe to chip and pin. Who was the only person there ready? Here was SecureID. Because if we were there for the game, we would have gone ahead and set up a max stripe plant, which we know that was not adding value to the economy. And so because our vision was to add value, the part of the vision is also to ensure that you're adding value. We set up the chip and pin. And so we had all the banks coming to us, 100% market share. We had the entire market. And so all, the banks that were doing the chip and pin cards abroad were now coming to us, and so on and so forth. But whilst we were running SecureID, next slide please. Whilst we were running SecureID, we knew that competition will come. And so I always said to my people, we do not have competition, but let's compete against ourselves. Okay? And we're not even there yet. Because if you look at the slide, it's a story of so many years. Alright? We want to set up an end-to-end smart card manufacturing plant. And the value chain of making a smart card is split in about 3 stages. So we start with the first stage, then we backward integrated to the second, and then we backward. Now we have backward integrated to the end. Next slide. Now, next slide. Next slide. Next slide. So we had said all of this. I didn't realize I was going on, but we bought these are the machines, for instance, that you need only for the first stage, and then you move backward. You need another long set of machines, and then you move backward again to the complete end. Next slide. So in doing that, we at the time when we were even the only ones, we went ahead to get all the certifications. So we basically changed the game in the marketplace. So we got certified by ISO, certified by MasterCard, certified by Verve, certified by Visa. Basically, whatever plant in the world can compare with the plant we have in SecureID. My benchmark was the #1 in the world to say, I want to be like this company. Okay, so I want to be this company in Africa. All right, and all the certifications. So there is absolutely no difference. Today, we supply cards to 15 countries across Africa. Of course, the only difference is that Nigeria still remains a very, very tough environment. So when you're talking about power, we have machines that cannot be sustained under power fluctuation. So you run on 24/7 generator, and so many other things. The entire factory has compressed air. Dust is not allowed. You have to cover your hair, cover your legs, cover everything to enter. It's a laboratory. Because of fraud, it's got a lot of firewall vaults and so on and so forth. So it's very, very difficult. We have to build a water treatment plant because the machines have to use pure water to make some of the cards. That's for the press. Very high tech, high technology, and so on. But as I said to you, local company, but global standards. So it wasn't. It's not. We have a lot of government. We have a lot of government support. A lot of ministries have been to the plant, and they're like, wow, But it's not about government support. We want to be able to compete on a fair ground with any other plant in the world. And so that takes us to the processes, ensuring that you have efficient processes in place, ensuring that your people are trained code of conduct, business ethics are there. Next slide. And in being the leader in this industry, we always have to think ahead of everyone. So that's the leadership headache. We're always taking so many steps ahead before our competitors join us. So I'm like, okay, I'm going to backward integrate to embedding. It will take them another 2 years to do it. So we do it very quickly. Before they get there, we've already backward integrated into something. So you're always thinking and you're always ahead of the game. You're always ahead of the competition. But your benchmark, as I said, is our benchmark in SecureID are global companies. That's our benchmark. So processes, we're always retreating, we're always having strategy sessions, we're always having retreats. How can we do things better? And so on and so forth. Next slide. Now that slide just tells you how we've been able to manage SecureID, through the crisis. Next slide, sorry. And so the important thing in running a business is now driving down a world-class culture of global standards into the people. I can remember in 2007 when we got visa certified, the first in West Africa. And we did such a major show and so on and so forth. There were letters and it was very, very good. We felt very, very good. Yes, 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 we're going to roll up our sleeves and get to work. And I got to work and I remember that the security guy, who is always supposed to be at his desk, I came in and, where is Bassey? He wasn't there. Wow. For something that is so, there has to be security because you can't go in like that. And Bassey comes back and I said, where did you go? I went to eat. Eat? Then I realized I had a problem. Okay, here you are, you have this vision, but guess what? You can't do it by yourself. So you have to pass on what is inside you to the team around you so that they can also understand where the company is going. And so what the pyramid you have there is that we have to drive down world-class culture. How do we respond to customers' complaint? Efficient systems, efficient processes, automating our systems, such that any order that comes, whether it's from Ethiopia, wherever it's coming from, they don't even know it's a Nigerian company. Next slide. So where you have in orange is where we are, where the markets that we're serving. Next slide. And we also, make the opportunity to do a lot of CSR projects. We've adopted the Lagos State School next door. We built a high-tech computer room for them, and we continue to support that. We built a water plant or so in some other village. Next slide. In 2012, SecureID won, the African Leadership Award, and this was, we were nominated by I don't know who, but there were about 30,000 companies all over Africa, and it went down that way and we got nominated by African Leadership. Next slide. And this is our plant, new plant. That's the end of the dream, but the dream goes on. And what we're doing is, because our raw materials are imported, we're already looking for ways of ensuring that those raw materials can be locally produced. We're also ensuring, so we're building other businesses. We're doing a lot of recycling of all of our waste. We've signed up Nigerian companies that can do that, so take the plastics granules to plastic companies and they can use them to make plastic bottles, flex tubes, and so on and so forth. Next slide. And this was our plant commissioning. Next plant. And the dream goes on. So we're not there yet. We're not finished yet. Next slide. And we have SecureID is now a group. So we have SecureID Limited, we have Secure Card Manufacturing, and who knows, we have another Secure something coming, and the legacy continues, and the battle is starting.